Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a seriously fascinating journey today, bridging two wildly different systems that just happen to share a very surprising namesake. We're talking about the ultimate digital cloak for your online data and the master switch for your biological cells. It's essentially a story about how highly complex systems defend themselves and the pretty steep price that defense actually demands.
All right, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with this shared tale of two tours, dive into digital privacy and onion routing, and then review some actual lives saved by this tech. After that, we'll completely pivot to biological longevity and cellular health before finally weighing the severe costs of both types of protection. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Tale of Two Tours, Parallels in Protection. So, what connects your internet privacy to how your body ages? Honestly, on the surface, it sounds like a riddle, doesn't it? But asking this question reveals a brilliant parallel in how complex networks, whether we're talking about fiber optic cables spanning the globe or microscopic human cells, defend themselves against degradation and observation. You see, both networks absolutely need a mechanism to survive hostile environments. And it breaks down like this. On one hand, we have Tor, literally the onion router. It's an architectural network that completely shields you from external digital tracking, effectively turning you into a ghost in the machine. On the other hand, we have mTOR, the mechanistic target of rapamycin. This is a biological pathway that protects you from internal cellular aging. It's basically pausing the clock on your physical breakdown. Both are the ultimate defensive mechanisms, and as you'll see, both demand a fascinating trade-off if you actually want to use them.
Section 2. Digital privacy. Onion routing. Okay, so the Tor browser isn't just your standard incognito mode. It fundamentally alters how you connect to the web. Built on a heavily modified version of Firefox, it aggressively strips away your identifiable history. You close the window and boom, your session cookies vanish instantly. It actively fights browser fingerprinting, acting as an entirely different way of routing data to hide exactly who you are and where in the world you are connecting from.
So how does this onion mechanism actually work in practice? Well, your traffic enters a network of virtual tunnels, bouncing through 3 random servers, which we call relays. At each single hop, a layer of encryption is peeled away, literally, just like an onion. Because of how this math is distributed, no single node knows both who you are and what website you're visiting. The entry relay knows your identity but has no idea about your destination, and the exit relay knows your destination but hasn't a clue who you are. It fundamentally prevents anyone from de-anonymizing your connection.
Section 3. Real lives saved by Tor. Neutral reports from the front lines.
To really understand why this mathematical distribution matters, we have to look at the front lines. User submissions sent directly to the Tor project reveal the staggering real-world stakes here. For instance, take a student in Hong Kong who reported using Tor to circumvent localized censorship during democratic movements. They explicitly noted that without this encryption masking their identity, they'd face severe personal risk. We're not just talking about hiding targeted ads here, we're talking about actual physical safety.
Or consider this report from Iran. During periods of political unrest, users report the government tightly restricting the internet. In those highly controlled moments, Tor, especially when they use these clever obfuscation plugins that actively disguise traffic to look like boring, normal background data, remains the only functional tool for accessing blocked global platforms like YouTube and Twitter.
Now this one is absolutely wild. It's not just dissidents and activists. We've got an astounding report from an undercover police officer infiltrating a narco gang in South America, relying entirely on the Tor network to safely communicate with superiors. It ensures that critical intelligence can be transmitted across borders without ever exposing a physical location through a traceable IP address. So it's a vital shield for state actors just as much as it is for everyday citizens.
And beyond geopolitics and high-stakes undercover work, everyday people rely on Tor for deeply personal reasons. Think about researching sensitive medical or mental conditions anonymously, without some massive corporation profiling you. Or victims of domestic abuse, ensuring that stalkers absolutely cannot monitor their browsing. It's also a lifeline for whistleblowers looking to expose public corruption without leaving a digital breadcrumb trail that leads right back to their desk.
Section 4. Biological longevity. The mTOR pathway. All right, let's totally shift gears here. We're moving from virtual internet tunnels to the microscopic biological pathways inside your own body to explore the second Tor in our explainer. Just as the digital Tor manages internet traffic, the biological mTOR pathway acts as the absolute master regulator for your cells. mTOR stands for mechanistic target of rapamycin. Think of it as the central command hub that senses nutrients and decides, should this cell grow and multiply right now, or should it hunker down and conserve energy? Rapamycin, by the way, is a clinical drug originally discovered in the soil of Easter Island, which is just awesome. And it inhibits this hub. It's currently being heavily researched as a geroprotective or anti-aging therapy.
Let's dive into the complex biology for a second. The mTOR pathway operates through distinct networks, primarily mTOR-C1 and mTOR-C2. It coordinates everything from sensing amino acids to basically giving your body the green light to make new proteins. But here is the critical part. When mTOR-C1 is active, meaning your engine is running hot and your cells are in full-blown growth mode, it completely shuts off a vital cellular process called autophagy.
Section 5. Anti-aging in cellular health. Inducing autophagy.
So how do we leverage that biological off switch? Well, by slowing down cellular growth using the drug rapamycin. The body naturally flips into a conservation state, and that immediately triggers this thing called autophagy. You can think of autophagy as a biological deep clean for your body. The cell literally starts sweeping out misfolded proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and just general cellular junk that accumulates over a lifetime. Sweeping all this debris away drastically improves organ health and has been shown to actually delay the onset of age-related diseases.
But this creates a pretty profound biological trade-off. Keeping the mTOR pathway active is fantastic for building muscle and promoting rapid cell growth, but running the engine that hot all the time eventually contributes to cellular exhaustion, senescence, and ultimately aging. Conversely, if you inhibit mTOR with rapamycin, you suppress that growth, but you trigger the meticulous cellular cleanup that expands longevity. It's the classic dilemma, right? Living fast versus living long. Biologically speaking, you simply can't have both at the exact same time.
Which brings us to our final segment, Section 6, the costs of protection, the trade-offs of both systems.
Because as with all powerful protective networks, there are severe costs to using them. Protection always demands a sacrifice. The digital Tor browser provides absolutely unmatched anonymity, but because your data is aggressively bouncing across the globe through multiple encrypted relays, it severely sacrifices speed. It is essentially useless for things like 4K streaming, seamless video calls, or large file transfers. Meanwhile, the biological Tor inhibitor, rapamycin, expands longevity and deeply cleans your cells, but it profoundly sacrifices metabolic health. Suppressing these pathways can dial back the immune system and lead to severe adverse effects, like insulin resistance.
An expert analyzing high-risk networks recently hit the nail on the head regarding this dilemma. They said, the answer is almost never one or the other. It is understanding which tool fits which threat and using them accordingly. Employing these incredibly complex systems requires real, objective clarity about the exact threats you're facing and a very clear-eyed view of what you're willing to give up to neutralize them.
Ultimately, whether you are trying to hide your digital footprint from pervasive global surveillance or you're attempting to shield your very own cells from the inevitable, microscopic march of time, the ultimate question remains exactly the same. So, I'll leave you with this. Just how high a price are you willing to pay for protection? Thanks for joining me on today's Explainer, and we'll see you next time.